Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining my Buddhism theory sharing. Today I'm going to talk about a topic which everybody would be interested to know. That is, how do we chant to get results? So I'm going to share with you some key points on chanting and also sensei's guidance on what is the best way to chant and practice to get results. Let me start. There are 5 key points on chanting. Number 1, chant with a voice that is clear, deep, and rhythmical, and with eyes focused on the Gohonsen. 2, chant with optimism and hope for the future, consciously making efforts to overcome your tendency to doubt or to worry. A lot of times when we chant, we are not sure whether we will get the results. And as soon as you doubt, your chanting is not working. So have no doubt. 3, chant with clear and concrete goals for each day, and then return to your daily life to act with wisdom, courage, and confidence to reach them. I remember I used to be very much involved in doing business, so I absolutely do not know how to do housework. So when I came to Sydney, in Hong Kong we've got helpers, right? But in Sydney we don't. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know how to organize a drawer. So I didn't know how to organize my life because my life was all work. So I chanted to the Gohonsen, let me have the wisdom to deal with my everyday life. And now I have no helper and I'm doing everything myself, although I don't enjoy it, to be very honest. Okay, so number 4, chant with the determination that I will make this happen by tapping into the power of the Buddha and the law that is inherent within you. Say if you have a problem, just chant, I will solve it. No problem at all. It's not going to be a problem. All right? And then the minute you make this determination, every energy, every wisdom, every force in your body will come forth to help you. Number 5, chant with your entire being and put determination, now again determination, into each daimoku with the spirit of single-mindedly desiring to see the Buddha and a pledge or vow to contribute to Kosen Rufu. As Sensei said, and also in our practice, the last 4 sentences, which says, Mai Ji Sa Senen Iga Ryu Sujo Tokunu Mujo Do Sokujo Bushin. This is the gist, the essence of our practice. It's not just to practice for ourselves, it's to practice with others. So this is why SGI encourages to do Kosen Rufu, to spread this Buddhism to help everybody. So this is the main point of our practicing. Not just for ourselves, but for us to help people. Okay, so the next topic I'm going to talk about is the formula to achieve victory. Start by writing down your dreams or goals on a piece of paper. There is something really magical about the written word. Writing down what you want to do will put you on the path in that direction. By the way, scientists have also recently found that writing your goals down on paper stimulates the brain and makes you want to try to achieve these goals. Words are powerful, really powerful. So if you can write them down on paper and looking at them every day, the words will encourage you to make you more determined. Okay? Next, after writing down your goals, chant about them. Nichiren Daishonin says, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is like the roar of a lion. Daimoku is the greatest source of strength that nothing can defeat. When you chant Daimoku, the lion-like courage and determination to realize your goals and dreams will well up inside you. The next step is to take action. In SGI, we have the winning rhythm of setting goals, chanting about them and taking action to realize them. Sensei says, I hope all of you will decide, chant, and act as one of your mottos and win each day and every day. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. However, if you use those 24 hours wisely, you can accomplish a week's worth of effort in a day or 10 years worth of effort in a year. Let me give you an example. When 20 years ago when I moved to Sydney, we bought a house, quite a nice one, quite a big one. So because I was in the interior design business, I decided to furnish the house from Hong Kong because I know all the tradesmen, all the shops. So I make a trip to Hong Kong. I booked into a hotel for 10 days, trying to find everything that I needed. But when I arrived in the hotel the first night, I started to get worried. I said, 10 days time, furnish the whole house. It doesn't sound very practical. But then, because I chanted, and then all of a sudden, my thinking changed. I said, 10 days could be a lot of time. If we do the right thing at the right time, then I will be able to do it. So as soon as I've changed my mind, then everything became very smoothly. I stayed in a hotel in Wan Chai, which is near all the shops. So I went to the shops, and I was able to find everything I needed, including 2 dining tables, 10 dining chairs. I mean, I've got a kitchen with that can put in a dining table, and I've got a dining room. And then sofas, coffee table, corner table, bed head, and the ceiling lights, and curtains, and the desk, and TV cabinets, everything. I was able to get everything done in 10 days. So it's just a change of mind, and you could do it. Okay. There are 3 characteristics of qualities of the practitioners of Nichiren Buddhism. And what characterizes the life state of them? First of all, it is having no fear, not being disturbed or daunted by anything. Well, recently I've got a relative whose daughter's got some health problem, and this relative called me and she started to cry. She was very worried. Now she is a Christian, and I just told her, it's okay, there's nothing to worry about. So what I was thinking this morning is, if there is faith, there's no fear. So she wouldn't chant, she doesn't practice Buddhism, but anyway, to me, if her faith is strong enough, there is no fear. Let me go on. Lies and deceit abound in society. It is foolish to allow ourselves to be swayed by such things. It only leads to unhappiness. The mystic law and Nichiren Daishonin are absolutely free of falsehood. The wisest possible course, therefore, is to dedicate our lives to the widespread propagation of the law. 2 Kosan Rufu. On account of our faith in Nichiren Buddhism, we may from time to time encounter unpleasantness from others. We may also find ourselves working much harder than many around us. But that is all part of our Buddhist practice. The Daishonin teaches that we can attain enlightenment in this lifetime. This requires enduring the trials of 3 obstacles and 4 devils. But if we can do that, we can attain enlightenment in this lifetime and enjoy the boundless life state of Buddhahood throughout eternity. That is why we need to forge ahead fearlessly, positively, and courageously, come what may. The second characteristic is living with vibrant hope. Nothing is stronger than hope. The mystic law is the source of eternal hope. People who never lose hope, no matter what happens, are truly happy. Actually, practicing Nichiren Buddhism and chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is to give us hope. That is very important. The third characteristic is a state of life in which we feel joy at all times. It is to have such joy that even at the time of death, one can say with a heartfelt smile, What a wonderful life that was. Now, where should I go next? Our Buddhist practice enables us to achieve an expansive state of being in which we can enjoy everything in life. As the Daishonin says, faith in the mystic law is the greatest of all joys. Okay, let me go on. The next topic is important points to note about our practice. Number 1, when the number of people in a particular country who chant Daimoku grows, it can be said that the nation is on a course towards securing the peace of the land through the propagation of true Buddhism. Of course, for one country to be at peace, its neighborhood countries must also be at peace. 2. Optimism should not be confused with a chaotic or easygoing attitude. It is a strong and robust view of life. An optimist is one who is able to see an opportunity to open the way forward in the most difficult situation. Okay, Louisa, please remember, any problem arises is an opportunity to open the way, all right? And who steadfastly clings to the belief that things will definitely turn out for the best. Please remember, everything will turn out to be the best. Such a person always views the suffering of life with detached composure and sees their positive implications and bright potential. Optimism enables one to greatly expand his state of life. 3. If you possess a strong life force and abundant wisdom, it is possible to enjoy the challenge of overcoming hardships. Because the mystic law is the source of life force and wisdom for overcoming life difficulties, the Daishonin stated that there is no greater happiness than chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. 4. Life passes by in an instant. Therefore, become people who can say confidently at the end of their life, I have won. I have done my best. How fortunate you are. Now, when you are young, to be able to participate freely in SGI activities and grow and be happy. 5. There are many trials and challenges that await us in our efforts to advance Kosen Rufu. The 3 powerful enemies will repeatedly attack us, and many are the obstacles we must surmount. All of our hard work for Kosen Rufu, however, is transformed into our boundless good fortune and benefit. In other words, every effort we make also benefits our own lives. Moreover, those with whom we forge bonds of friendship and help form a connection with Buddhism in this lifetime will share profound ties with us across eternity. But first, we will begin with prayer. A prayer directed towards victory for ourselves and for our communities. Women have tremendous power. Power to move the hearts of others, to bring harmony to and transform their families and communities, to move the world one step closer to peace. And this is clearly reflected in Sensei's 5 eternal guidelines for the women's division. Those eternal guidelines are: number 1, everything begins with prayer. 2, advance harmoniously with our families. 3, foster young successors. 4, cherish our communities and societies. 5, joyfully share our experiences in faith. On these eternal guidelines, Sensei elaborates. When a woman's division member carries out her human revolution based on prayer to the Gohonzen, she becomes a sun of hope, illuminating her family, her loved ones, her community, and society. In our ongoing efforts to establish a more peaceful world, starting with our communities, the SGI USA Women's Division will be focusing on conducting heart heart-to-heart dialogues, and fostering relationships with young people in their environments. Toward this milestone, let us reaffirm 5 key points from Sensei on the starting point and power source for absolute victory with our prayer. Number 1, we will achieve our goals without fail. Prayer based on the mystic law, chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, means making a vow. It is the most powerful spiritual force. When such prayer fills our hearts, there is no room for any cowardice, resignation, or complaint. Now, guys, please do not complain. Complain only reduces your strength, makes you weak. So do not complain. I just don't like people to complain. Well, you can tell me your problems, all right? It's a matter of fact, but please do not complain. I just don't like to hear complaints. Okay, let me go on. Prayer in Nichiren Buddhism means believing that we will achieve our goals without fail, and having the conviction that we will never be defeated. It breaks through the barrier of self-doubt that tells us we cannot succeed and tells us that we cannot succeed, and those barriers, and gives us supreme courage to fight and win if we can break through the barrier. Number 2, making everything in the universe our associate. Ultimately, faith is not asking the heavenly deities for their support, but rather achieving their protective functions within our own lives, which embody the mystic law. Well, this theory just means that the universe is magnetic field. Like attracts like. If we bring up the best in ourselves, we bring up the best from everywhere, everyone. So this is just very simple science that everybody knows. The most important thing is to bring out the best in ourselves, then the best will come. Let me go on. Nichiren Daishonin cites a passage from the great teacher of China. One's body and mind at a single moment pervades the entire realm of phenomena. Indeed, our mind, our lives, can permeate the entire universe. In other words, we can make everything in the universe, even the most negative and hostile forces, our allies. Such as is the infinite power of the mystic law. Well, to give you an example, there is a member who has a very, very hostile colleague that criticized her and make life very difficult for her, but she continues chanting and chanting and chanting. I think after 8 months, there was an opportunity when there was a time when this colleague has got problems, and the member, because of her Buddhist practice, has a lot of compassion, and she helped this colleague out. And since then, everything changed. The colleague becomes her best colleague. So we can change everything. Number 3, persevering until our prayers are answered. By chanting and dedicating ourselves to the mystic law, our lives merge with the wondrous rhythm of the universe. Prayer is the way the microcosm of our lives connects with the macrocosm of the universe. Through prayers based on the mystic law, we bring forth the supreme power, wisdom, and compassion of the universe in our own lives, because we are just part of the universe. That is why Nichiren constantly stresses to us the importance of one's attitude in prayer. To fulfill our wishes, we need to continuously arouse courage and persevere in Buddhist practice until our prayers are answered. The key to our individual prayers being answered are: the most important point is whether our faith is dedicated to actualizing Kozen Rufu. The teaching of the mystic law is infused with the Buddha's unchanging wish for the happiness of all people. That is why chanting earnestly for Kozen Rufu and giving all to each Soka Gakkai activity lead to our individual prayers being answered. As I repeatedly say, the senior member who taught me chanting said, Lydia, you have to put this practice in the center of your life. When there is any SGI meeting, go. If there is a chance to encourage people, go. If you have to visit members in the hospital, go. So take every chance to participate in SGI activities. And in the end, you can feel that you're helping yourself. And I used to go to a center to do cleaning every week. That was before SGI employed a full-time cleaner. I went there every Thursday to clean their lobby. Voluntary. Nobody asked me to do it. To clean their lobby, to vacuum, to clean the floor, the kitchen, and the toilet. Okay, let me begin. Let me continue. Carrying out the practice of human revolution, overcoming our own problems, and achieving personal happiness can be likened to the earth rotating on its axis, while advancing Kosen Rufu and thereby contributing to the prosperity of society, can be likened to the earth revolving around the sun. Just as these two movements of the earth are inseparable, Nichiren Buddhism teaches that individual happiness and social prosperity must be achieved together. Our daily efforts for Kosen Rufu, while protecting the law and contributing to the well-being of society and others, at the same time enable us to achieve indestructible happiness for ourselves. Well, when we help others, in fact, we are helping ourselves. Number 5, the greater the hardship, the more beautiful the blossoms of happiness. Mr. Toda said, when you practice Nichiren Buddhism, you will find that the length of painful times is shortened and the intensity of your suffering itself gradually diminishes until finally it disappears completely. Therefore, please exert yourself wholeheartedly for Kosen Rufu and become happy. He's so right in this, because after so many years of practice, of course, one cannot be happy all the time. There are things that happen that make you not very happy. But for me, it used to last, this thing will last maybe several days. But now, it only a couple of hours or a few hours, I can get out of it and become happy again. So this is what this practice has helped me. So this is why I can be happy most of the time. Mr. Toda also said, the deeper the mud, the more beautiful the flowers that bloom from its midst. The same is true of human beings. The greater the hardships, the more enormous and beautiful the blossoms of happiness that unfold. Well, talking about me again, I cannot emphasize on all the lessons, I wouldn't even say hardships, that I've gone through since I was a child. Time and time again, I have to face a lot of challenges and problems. But I guess I've got a very strong character. This is why I was able to overcome them. But in the past 20 years, because it was very hard for me, so hard that my health was very poorly impacted. But then with my Buddhist practice, I was able to overcome the problems much easier and achieve more results and become happy. So this is what the Buddhist practice has helped me. This is why I'm so much into spreading this Buddhism and helping everybody to know how to use this practice to help yourselves. Okay, now I'm going to share some personal experiences about winning over failure. A lot of times we think, I have failed. What do I do? Some of those people will fall flat and not be able to get up. But some will get up but don't know their direction. So I'm going to share with you two experiences on two members who had overcome their failure. It came as an interview. So let me start. The first member is called Olive. Okay, the question is, where did you fail, Olive? Tell us your story. Olive said, around 1989, almost 2 years after I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and 1 year after I had overcome a big hurdle in my medical studies, the preliminary medical exam, I had to take the first state exam. which is a comparatively simple exam. Until that point, everything had gone well, and I approached the task with a casual attitude that, because I was chanting, everything would turn out well. Result, I failed. Of course, I was embarrassed. I quickly dismissed the situation as a blemish, little thought of it, and repeated the exam after 4 months later. Result, I failed again. Question, how did you feel at that moment? Answer, I was in a state of shock and questioned everything, asking, what do I really want to do with my life? And what can I do professionally? I had already been able to visibly transform my self-doubt through 2 years of practicing Buddhism. But now, I was faced with a concrete and life-changing problem. Question, how did you transform your situation? Answer, after 2 weeks of shock, I decided, first, to chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, second, to throw myself into local business activities, and third, to self-reflect. This is very important, to reflect on our own problems, our own weaknesses. I had not really taken myself, my life, and my value seriously until then. I had never had to struggle very much. Something began to change in me. For the first time, I felt a desire to strive for something, to do everything I could. This guy was having his life too easy. It's not a blessing, actually. Let me go on. I was allowed to retake the test one last time. I gave it my all. I chanted regularly and abundantly and studied like never before. It started to be fun, and I learned to concentrate, to be structured and persistent. The result, I passed. Above all, I came to recognize strengths and qualities that are still helping me in my life today. Question, that means you were actually able to gain something very valuable from your failure. Answer, this change has fundamentally shaped my life. The blind spots in my life ultimately came to light through practicing Buddhism and taking part in SGI activities. I saw my negative tendencies clearly and was able to make a purposeful decision to transform myself. That is his human revolution. I understood for the first time that everything that happens to us can be turned into something positive. Remember, everything can be turned into something positive, something valuable. This is the Buddhist concept of changing poison into medicine. This change in me also impressed my parents. Before, they had been very skeptical about Buddhism, but that changed completely. Currently, I'm very satisfied with my professional career. Every day, I challenge myself to grow, to do my human revolution. Now, this changing poison into medicine is very, very important. So, if we do face something which is not very pleasant, maybe it's something to help us. For me, all the challenges, all the problems in the past have made me what I am. And I was in a better situation after overcoming all the problems. So please remember this. Now, the next experience is about a member who also have failed. The question is, have you ever failed in your life? This is a female member called Steva. She answered, before I started practicing Buddhism, I failed in almost all areas of my life. School, studies, relationships, nothing went as I wished or imagined. After I began practicing Buddhism in 1988, this fundamentally changed. Nevertheless, subsequently, there was a time in my life that I would describe as a period of experiencing failure. In retrospect, I see it as a success. I can look back on this experience as something that enriched my life. It was about my family's financial situation. Several factors played a role. One was our purchase and restoration of a beautiful old apartment. It had long been a great desire of mine to own and live in such an apartment. We had begun this endeavor with joy and great naivety, without any real preparation or plan, but the costs were much higher than expected. Owing to further financial burdens, our situation worsened until nothing remained of our original joy. The apartment and everything that went with it only depressed us and caused me and my husband pure stress. All of this hung heavily over our heads until nothing worked anymore. Our accounts were closed. We could no longer service our loans and pay the bills and hardly had any money to live on. And all this with 2 young children. Question. You described your situation very vividly. How did you feel in the midst of it? Answer. To be honest, awful. Due to the excessive demands and pressure, I left letters and bills unopened. I remember many sleepless nights, nighttime panic attacks, and a lot of anxiety. I had feelings of failure and helplessness when I couldn't even buy my children an ice cream. As a woman's leader in my local Buddhist organization, I often felt like an imposter when I spoke about the transformative power of Buddhist practice at meetings or in conversations with members. However, I had no choice but to rely on my Buddhist practice. Question. How did you transform your situation? Answer. By making a clear decision to draw a line and end this situation. Like me, a lot of times when I said to the Gohansen, enough is enough. So that is how I draw a line to whatever that made me unhappy or not healthy. It was a decision against passive sufferings and for active acceptance of responsibility. The first thing I did was to suggest to my husband that we sell the apartment. He was very relieved and surprised because the apartment had been my dream. From then on, it was a matter of taking concrete steps towards a solution, selling the apartment and finding an affordable rental apartment. For the new apartment, I wanted it to be suitable for hosting my local Buddhist meetings. I was determined to use my experience to encourage other members by showing them that you can overcome any difficulty through your Buddhist practice. I no longer felt helpless. I knew what to do and where to direct my prayer, and I felt there was deeper meaning to my situation. I chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo that we would find the most suitable buyer, and the buyer we finally found was able to transfer the money in one lump sum because of an inheritance. When we hosted a Buddhist meeting in our new apartment, the members remarked how much nicer it was than our previous place. We had been living in this rented apartment for almost 20 years now and feel much more comfortable than in our old place. Question. You were able to turn your failure into something entirely positive, is that right? Answer. Yes. I have come to a deeper understanding of Buddhism and my life. I realized how superficial my understanding of Buddhism had been and recognized my arrogance. Failing was not necessarily something negative. I understood the profound significance of difficulties for deepening faith and for my development as a person. Some members later told me that they could relate to me better because of my experience. I'm deeply grateful because it was through this experience of failure that I was able to develop real compassion and appreciation. Part of my superficial understanding was the attitude that through Buddhist practice, everything somehow worked out. I had begun the condo project with this attitude. Buddhism, however, is reason, and it also means becoming informed, making good preparation, facing reality, and taking care of details. I became very aware of the workings of cause and effect. By losing the apartment, I was also able to free myself from an illusion. I had made myself dependent on owning a prestigious apartment. This long-cherished and urgent desire for such an apartment stemmed from my life state that in Buddhism we call the world of hunger. It was about wanting to have, literally at any cost. This was also associated with a permanent dissatisfaction with my living and housing situation. In retrospect, I was able to say, yes, I had this great desire, and I fulfilled it. And now I know that my happiness absolutely does not depend on it. I hope that you will always maintain a sincere and honest mind both in your faith and in your life. It is also my hope that with a correct view of life and correct faith, you will become a person with a broad and magnanimous mind. Depending on how we view and given any situation, its meaning will change immediately. Can we not say, then, that faith is the inexhaustible source that gives us the ability to accept all events in a constructive manner? At the same time, no matter what bad changes lie in our path, with vigilant as one steering wheel, our lives will unfailingly go in the proper direction, one filled with zest, satisfaction, and happiness. Such is the function of the mystic law. In order to bring hope and joy to others, one must feel hope and joy oneself. Now, this is very true. When we want to do Kozen Rufu and we want to tell others how great this Buddhist practice is, let us be happy. Let us show the greatness of this practice in ourselves. And then it's even more convincing. People look at you and see that you are happy and successful. I mean, successful in the sense that you are happy with your life. Then you don't need much convincing, and they will follow you. Hope and joy come from making efforts for the sake of the Buddha's children, because these very efforts help defeat one's own inherent laziness and negativity. I remember I shared with you an experience I had when I was in Hong Kong. I was passing the street and passed by a little street store and I wanted to buy something from the woman who was selling the stuff. And I wanted to teach her chanting. And I told her that the chanting is good and so forth. And she said, yes, I can see that in you. You are so happy that I'm convinced the chanting is good. So let us show forth the greatness of this practice with our own posture, with our own attitudes, and our own life. Let me go on. How can we create the greatest value in a short span of a lifetime? Those of us who embrace the mystic law know the answer. Our faith in and practice of Nichiren Buddhism enables us, in the course of this lifetime, to solidify the world of Buddhahood in our lives and establish a state of being of eternal happiness. That is the purpose of faith in the mystic law, the purpose of our Buddhist practice. That is, to create happiness for ourselves and others. Okay, this is all that I have to